served fresh with a side of rice, is Stella Sora's first true limited character, Snowish Laru. She is a versatile unit, but like many other versatiles, she has more effective damage and supporting capabilities from the backline. As such, this guide will cover her support position. We'll talk about potential teammates and a couple different builds. One focusing on being a backline DPS, and one focused on buffing. Let's take a look. As a support, she has two build paths. One focused on minions, and one focused on skill damage. The skill damage build deals area damage and offers a skill damage taken debuff, while the minion build has much less AoE but has a small party buff. This buff, however, is not very significant, and because minions don't benefit from most party buffs, the skill build is the preferred choice for both damage and debuffs. Before we look at our builds, let's talk about our team options. Teaming up with Fuyuka and either Flora or Chixia is your strongest pairing. In these teams, you would prioritize buffing the team as a support. If you don't have Fuyuka, you'd be looking to play Laru as a DPS. In the main slot, you can run Kasimira or Flora. Flora as main, while it does lead to having 0 mark procs, has much greater potential than the other team variants, due to having more options to buff Laru as the main. When Flora is on the support slot, only 2 of her potentials benefit the damage of support trackers, and both Kasimira and Chixia on main are no better buffers than they are on support. Amber's damage is not that great in the grand scheme of things, but if you have her built, then why not? Let's start out with the potentials within the Fuyuka team. On Laru, you'll want to run both Fire Downpour and Special Ammo as cores. Fairy Tail Rule and Celebration Resumed are her highest value buffs, with Toy Army very close behind. Getting at least 1 point in 2 gun salute will substantially increase her damage. Fuyuka and Flora have a similar build to that covered in the Ultimate Build Guide, with a few important notes. Assuming they're evenly built, Fuyuka's lower value potentials have roughly the same value as those of Laru. And for Flora, Guest Performer becomes one of the priority potentials as it benefits both Laru and Fuyuka's damage. What about a more DPS oriented build? We'll still run the 2 cannon cores. Afterward, 2 gun salute is the highest priority, followed by uplifting shot. Fairy Tail Rule has the medium priority. Then finally get Ammo Rain and Toy Army, which can massively amplify Laura's burst window. On Flora, run Spiral Dance and Ending Zone as cores. Lethal Inferno remains the highest priority, due to how powerful Laura's Break Burst can be. Perception of Psyche and Emotional Catharsis are the next priorities. Other potentials have very low value. For Chixia, Sigil Unleashed Flame Glow is the top priority, followed by Ink Sigil Horncall and Ambush. If you don't have Chixia, Kasimira works as a decent replacement. Take Heated Battle and Area Bombardment as cores. Shocking Bombardment and Meltdown Threshold are high value potentials, with Army Breaker being useful for bursting. 1 point in Surprise Gift is recommended for debuff uptime. So how do all these teams compare in damage? The Fuyuka comp is quite a significant margin stronger, and again, Flora as support offers a decent amount more value than Chixia for her. When using Laru as a DPS in the support slot, her strongest teams use Flora as a main. However, this is for a neutral environment. Recall that the current wall split gives a ton of energy as well as a very potent ultimate damage taken debuff on Mark Detonation, which this team can't do with Flora as main. Let's quickly cover Laru's skill timing. When running with Fuyuka and setting up for a burst, lead with Flora's ultimate, and once you reach 5 stacks of the debuff, use Flora's skill and ultimate. Then, 2 seconds later, use Flora's skill and Fuyuka's ultimate. With this timing, you can have the highest average stacks of Laru's White Army buff within the burst window. So, how strong are Snowish Laru's talents? Similar to most other characters, she gains roughly 35 to 45% personal damage between talent 0 and 5. Her talent 2 relies on marks being activated to trigger, so if you're playing a Flora main comp, you'll lose some value with this one. Emblem stats are as typical as they get. For level 70, get pen, crit rate, skill damage, and element damage. For level 80, prioritize support skill plus 3, followed by crit rate, a second line of pen, and then skill damage. For level 90, levels in 2-gun salute are the most valuable, followed by uplifting shots. Her other potentials don't scale too much after that, so finish off with some skill damage and element damage. What about discs? First, let's look at the total team value of various discs in the Fuyuka team. Snowish Laru's exclusive disc is the most powerful, though it should be noted that its effect is very specific, and you may lose a good amount of value if you're not running Snowish Laru. Meowing Cat God, Fireworks, and Mystic Brushstrokes all hold a similar value, with the Cataclysm and Finale discs close behind. Both of the event discs are very competitive when maxed out. When running Laru as DPS, the values slightly fluctuate. Her signature disc leads by a larger margin, and Meowing Cat God is now slightly lower than the other discs. The event discs at MOV beat out the other disc options at C1, so don't slack off on the event. That's Laura's job after all. And that wraps up this deep dive on Snowish Laru. She works as both a powerful DPS or support, and is a strong addition to your Ignis team whether you have Fuyuka or not. Because Fuyuka is already strong as is, Laru can be considered a win more pull. Anyways, wishing you all had a wonderful holiday season and hope you got lucky with your free 20 pulls. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!